What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're resuming our season recaps with the Detroit Lions. They are the 8th team on the list next to the Buffalo Bills, and I'm adding something new with the Buffalo Bills from now on. I Spot Rack, the website I use for free agents and salary cap and stuff, it now has a feature that allows you to virtually sign players for certain contracts. So you get to make your own contracts, make your own signings for free agents, trade players, cut players, and stuff like that. So I'm starting out with the Buffalo Bills because I already did this recap and I already did it. I didn't see the feature. The feature just came out when I was doing the Buffalo Bills season recap. So sorry about that, Detroit Lions fans, but it's not going to be any different. It just adds another feature to the season recap, or the season previews actually, at the end of this video. But anyway, if you guys like this video, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe if you guys are new. Ring that notification bell so you never miss a video. It happens, guys. It happens. Anyway, let's start off with the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions finally got themselves a running game with Kerryon Johnson after not having a running game since Reggie Bush. We're talking about the last 100-yard rusher since Reggie Bush in 2013. That's a long time ago. That's like almost as long as the Colts before they had Marlon Mack and guys like that. So the Detroit Lions finally got themselves a running back. You know, I was worried in the beginning because they kept Amir Abdullah and they brung in LeGarrette Blount, and we all seen what LeGarrette Blount has done. I even made a video about that, him being signed to Detroit Lions and the potential of them using him as a #1 back. I was like, man, they have to draft a running back because, you know, LeGarrette Blount isn't going to get them to the promised land as far as the running game goes. But then they get Kerryon Johnson out of Auburn, and that all changed. And what a great job they did with Kerryon Johnson. Unfortunately, Kerryon Johnson got hurt, and the offense didn't really performed the way they should have. Their defense was okay. I mean, their defense was actually pretty good. Nobody's really talking about their defense, but it was actually pretty good. Their offense really struggled, even with Matthew Stafford. They're one of the highest paid quarterbacks, highest paid players in the NFL right now that signed a big deal before this season, and this is what he shows you guys. He definitely has to put in more work than this. I get his team isn't so good. You know, you definitely need some better wide receivers and a better running game, even though it's getting better, but a better running game and some better receivers, and that will definitely help him out just a little bit. But let's start off with the Detroit Lions. They went 6-10, last in the NFC North. It's hard to believe that once upon a time they were on top of the NFC North, competing with the Green Bay Packers for you know, their division seed. But now they're all the way on the bottom. You got the Chicago Bears rising up, the Vikings still on that higher tier, and the Green Bay Packers kind of on the bottom as well. But still, the Lions found themselves at the bottom of the division. So let's start off with their best game. Their best game, I would say, is against the New England Patriots in Week 3. They beat them 26-10. And I think a lot of people saw this coming, but never predicted the Lions to win, just because they had a bad Week 1 and Week 2, and then they come around and beat the they beat the New England Patriots 26-10. I didn't think it was going to be that kind of beatdown, but I had a feeling that they would win just because Matt Patricia was there last year, and he knows that system very well after being there for a very long time, offensively and defensively, knows all the personnel, things like that. The Patriots don't really change their personnel like that, so obviously it's probably the same team that they faced last year. So Matt Patricia knew how to beat them, and he did for the most part. 26-10, got to be their best game this season. We move on to their worst game, and that was Week 1 against the New York Jets. Talk about a flip over, man. They beat the New England Patriots in Week 3 after getting demolished by the Jets, and the Jets had a worse record than them, by the way. The Jets beat them 48-17, in which I watched that game. I believe it was Monday Night Football, and that Jets defense looked serious. I mean, Darren Lee had like 2 interceptions. They sacked Matthew Stafford a bunch. Things like that. I think Matthew Stafford threw like 3 or 4 interceptions that game. And then Sam Darnold looked pretty good. And I thought the Jets were actually gonna be something this year. You know, they're getting on that track, but that was just a bad showing by the Detroit Lions. So let's go over the team stats. Offensively, they're 25th in the league, scoring 20.2 points per game. They're 24th in total yards per game, 20th in passing yards per game, and rushing yards per game. They're 23rd in the league with 103. We look at their defensive stats. So their defensive stats is not too bad from their offensive stats. Their offensive points per game is 20.2, and they're giving up 22.5. Like I always say in these season recaps, it's always obviously the best way to win games is to score more points than your defense is giving up. But 22 points per game versus 20 points a game is not a huge margin. You know, we've seen teams go to the playoffs giving up more points than they put up, which is possible. We've seen teams make the playoffs like that. So it's not a bad look. It's just that, you know, with the yards per game and time of possession and stuff like that does not help the Detroit Lions. So we move on to total yards per game. They rank 10th in the league in total yards per game, so that's very good with 335 yards total. And then against the pass, they were 8th in the league with 224 passing yards. And then against the rush, they were 10th in the league with just 110 yards per game. So they did very well defensively. I mean, their biggest knack on them defensively is their points per game. That's pretty much it. As far as yardage goes, they were getting off the field pretty quickly, it looked like, because they were 10th in the league and 8th in the league, respectively, against the rush and the pass. So, I mean, they did pretty well on defense. And they had 43 sacks, and that's hard to believe. You know, just a year ago, they were having a lot of trouble with the sacks, and it's not because of Ezekiel Ansah. Ezekiel Ansah only had 4 sacks this season. We're talking about former Giants players that have been getting all the sacks for the Detroit Lions. Romeo Okwara, formerly undrafted free agent from the Giants out of Notre Dame, that the Giants ultimately let go, that I am very heartbroken about because I really wanted to keep him, and I knew he would deliver like this. He had 7.5 sacks this year, and Devon Kennard himself had 7 sacks. So, I mean, you look at the sacks, 43 sacks for the Detroit Lions. That's a very good accomplishment with the not as good front seven that you guys have. And on top of that, your defensive tackles, your 2 defensive tackles, and A'Shawn Robinson and Damon Harrison aren't known to be big sack guys. So you really have to depend on your ends and your linebackers, and they did a fine job at that. And then they're giving up 41 sacks, which we've seen higher numbers before, 41 sacks, but it could get better. It could get a lot better. Offensive line is something they do need to work on. We look at their turnover ratio. It's -5. That's never a good look. And their cap space projected in the 2019 season is $29.9 million. Look at your player stats. Your passing leader, Matthew Stafford, 3,777 yards, a 66.1 completion percentage, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 89.9. Look at your leading rusher, Kerryon Johnson, rookie out of Auburn, with just 118 attempts, 641 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. What a year this guy had. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Then we look at LeGarrette Blount, who had, get this, 154 attempts, 418 yards. That is a 2.7 yards per carry average. That is just horrid. That's terrible. And 5 touchdowns. So he's basically used as the bowling ball of that offense. Let's move on to your receiving leaders. It's not Marvin Jones this time. It's Kenny Golladay. I believe he's a former 5th-round pick for you guys. You guys really hit on the nail. I still think you guys need some wide receiver depth, but Kenny Golladay is a very good starter for you guys. Very good gem that you guys found late in the draft with 70 receptions, 1,063 yards, a 15.2 average, which is what I like to see from top receivers of each team. I like to see that 14 to 17 average. That's meaning that you're stretching the field in a certain way, and you're the number 1 receiver. That's a good thing. So, and 5 touchdowns to add to that. So, very good job there. Marvin Jones, 35 receptions, 508 yards. And 5 touchdowns. As far as I see, he did play all the games, well, most of the games. I don't think he was injured that often, so I don't know what's going on with Marvin Jones. He used to be a very good player for Detroit and Cincinnati, so I don't know what's going on there with Marvin Jones. Then we look at Theo Riddick, who remains one of the better pass-catching running backs in the NFL. 61 receptions, 384 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, and no touchdowns. So not the best year that Theo Riddick has ever had, but not the worst. So we look at the defensive stats. Your leading tackler was your guy out of Florida, Jarrad Davis, in his second year. Now, I like me some Jarrad Davis. The reason why I didn't want the Giants to draft Jarrad Davis was because of his injury problems. We have a curse of the middle linebacker position as far as injuries, so I didn't want him. But, I mean, he's playing just fine with the Detroit Lions. They needed a cornerstone middle linebacker. They got one here. The middle linebacker out of Florida, Jarrad Davis, 100 total tackles, 73 of them things solo, 6 sacks. Nobody's talking about Jarrad Davis, but 6 sacks and 1 forced fumble. So he should have been in consideration to make the Pro Bowl. We look at your sacks leader. Like I said, Romeo Okwara with 7.5 sacks. And we look at Devon Kennard from that strong linebacker position, 7 sacks. And then Ezekiel Ansah with just 4. That doesn't show that Ezekiel Ansah is going to be re-signed. He's going to definitely be a free agent. I don't think they're going to re-sign Ezekiel Ansah when they have a cheap option there with Romeo Okwara. Let's move on to your draft class, your 2018 draft class. First, you go ahead and get Frank Ragnow, your first round pick, 20th overall. Now, a lot of people were complaining about this, but then when everybody was watching the film, everybody was like so excited about Frank Ragnow. And I still think he's going to be a very good piece for you. I do not knock that decision whatsoever. In the second round, you went ahead and got yourself a running back. So that tells you guys you're trying to change the culture of that offense. You're trying to change the scheme of that offense, trying to make it more run-orientated, and I completely agree with that. Stick with that. You guys can build with those guard positions now, possibly the tackle positions. We'll see about that. But Frank Ragnow, very good pick for you guys. You may get some doubters. But I think that was the best possible selection you guys could have made there in the first round. Then we move on to Kerryon Johnson, who you guys signed, who you guys drafted 43rd overall in the second round. Very good pick for you guys. Do I think there could have been some better running backs on the board? I'm not sure. Who was left on the board besides that. You guys let me know. I don't really know who was left besides Kerryon Johnson. I think it was fine that you waited to the second round to get Kerryon Johnson, then go ahead and reach for him in the first round. Instead, you got a very good player in Frank Ragnow. Unlike the Seattle Seahawks, who drafted Rashad Penny in the first round when he wasn't even a first round option, and he's not even your biggest need there at running back. So you guys made the better move instead of the Seattle Seahawks. We then move on to safety Tracy Walker. I believe he's actually played a lot of snaps for you guys as safety. He's actually working his way up there. I believe he's going to start getting some more snaps other than Glover Quinn as he gets up there in age as a veteran, and Tracy Walker is going to be the next guy up. They're trying to groom him as the next safety, and I guess that's a good draft pick for you guys in the third round, so not bad there. We then move on to Deshaun Hand, who you guys drafted out of Alabama, I believe. Defensive end, 114th overall, and he's actually been a pretty good pick for you guys. A very good depth rotational defensive end for you guys, and I think you guys hit it on the nail there. You guys needed some kind of depth at defensive end, if not a potential starter, and you definitely got one in Deshaun Hand. We then move on to Tyrell Crosby. A lot of people were wondering, how is Tyrell Crosby going to get any playing time with your left and right tackles there, and on top of that, they're signed for multi-year contracts. How is Tyrell Crosby going to get any playing time? I don't know, but he's going to be used as a very good swing tackle. I think he's a potential starter. Not sure if he's really a starter level yet, but he's definitely going to be a good swing tackle for you guys if anybody were to get fatigued or if anybody were to get hurt. And then last but not least, you guys drafted a fullback in the 7th round. No harm, no foul. Who cares about that? I think he got put on the IR anyway, or he got cut. I don't think he played the season with you guys. So it is what it is. A 7th round pick. Nobody really cares. All right, so let's move on to your free agents now. Now we're starting to transition to the 2019 preview. We have the free agents. Ezekiel Ansah is going to want some big money. I don't think you should give it to him. I think you should let him walk. I think it's fair. I think you guys should just start grooming some more pass rushers. You already have Romeo Okwara. He's on a cheap deal. Devon Kennard is giving you production. You could develop Deshaun Hand. Maybe draft another defensive end in this draft here. You guys are just fine. You guys can let go of Ezekiel Ansah, and it won't be that bad. You guys had 43 sacks this year, and only 4 of them came from Ezekiel Ansah. You guys will be just fine. We then move on to Luke Wilson. I say re-sign Luke Wilson. I know he's not a big option at tight end there, but he's the best you got right now because you're not going to get any very good options. You guys let Eric Ebron go. Look what he did with the Colts. Keep Luke Wilson just for some competition. Don't let him go just yet. If you need to cut him in training camp. But I don't think he warrants a big contract. I don't think he's gonna want a big contract. Just sign him for a small 1-year deal and see where you go from there. Then we move on to LeGarrette Blount. Let this guy go. He's just a shell of himself. He's not what he used to be. Let LeGarrette Blount go. Go ahead and draft some better running backs. Bring in some better depth behind Kerryon Johnson and watch that running game thrive. 2.7 yards per carry does not warrant an extra contract. We look at wide receiver TJ Jones. Some decent wide receiver depth for you guys, so go ahead and re-sign him. You look at another tight end, Levine Toilolo. I don't know. I think he's getting up there in age. I believe he's 30-something. You guys can let him go. It doesn't matter to me. Cornerback Marcus Cooper, another depth cornerback primarily used for special teams. If you guys want to go for him for the special teams route, go for it. That's not going to matter to me whatsoever. Quarterback Matt Castle, he's really up there in age, but I guess he can perform if Matt Stafford were to get hurt. You could sign him for a cheap deal as well. He's going to be looking for any NFL team because of his age, so he's going to be looking for any NFL team just to make a salary. Just give him a cheap deal. Long snapper Dan Malik, I don't care, do what you want. Zach Zenner at running back, very, very underrated running back Zach Zenner is. Go ahead and re-sign him. He's going to be pretty good depth behind Kerryon Johnson. We look at fullback Nick Bawden. I don't know if you guys are going to keep Nick Bawden. I don't know how you guys feel about Nick Bawden. Any of the Nick guys, just resign one of them. I don't care. And then defensive tackle Ricky Jean-Francois. He's not a starter for you guys. You guys got Damon Harrison. You guys got Ashawn Robinson. I think Ricky Jean-Francois would be a very good depth defensive tackle for you guys. And then you look at Kelvin Shepard, inside linebacker, another former New York Giants person there. If you want to use him for depth, go ahead, or special teams. It wouldn't matter to me whatsoever. Kelvin Shepard is not a bad linebacker. He's just not a starter. You guys already had Jarrad Davis, and if he were to get hurt, we all know that he's able to do. I think Kelvin Shepard would be just fine there. Go ahead and re-sign him. The problem is your cap space. I don't think you guys have enough cap space to re-sign all these guys, and then bring in free agents. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens there. We look at free safety Deshaun Shedd, another good option at free safety. But depending on your cap space, you can let him go or re-sign him. You look at wide receiver Bruce Ellington. Just let him go. You guys can find some better talent elsewhere. You guys can't keep hoarding talent of average receivers. Otherwise, you'll never bring in a good receiver. Force yourself to get a good receiver. Go ahead and let go of these average receivers in Bruce Ellington. The only reason why I say to keep TJ Jones is because he's a bigger target. You always want these bigger wide receivers, no matter their skill level, because they will be targeted in the red zone and they will drag the most attention. You look at now outside linebacker Eli Harold. Just let him go. I don't think he really did anything for you guys. Tight end Jerome Cunningham. He's one of my favorites. He's a former New York Giant. He's been team hopping. He's a journeyman tight end. I hope he finds a place to stay and actually performs. So just resign Jerome Cunningham just because I say so. Defensive end Kerry Hyder. I believe he's a little sleeper for you guys. Depth defensive end, so resign him. And of course, Romeo Okwara. Resign Romeo Okwara. Or he could come back to the Giants. I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. Come back to the Giants, Romeo Okwara. But anyway, let's move on. Oh, by the way, the Lions did hire ex-Seahawks offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell. So I think with that being there, the Seahawks scheme there, it's run, play action, pass. Run, play action, pass. That's how it goes in Seattle, and I think that's how it's going to work in Detroit, and that is the biggest blessing for Detroit. Get all the weight from Matthew Stafford's shoulders. Let Kerryon Johnson carry the rock. Get some running back depth in there just in case Kerryon Johnson gets hurt again. And then see where you go from there. Then let Matt Stafford do his thing with some better targets. You don't exactly have a Calvin Johnson there, but you have some decent pieces. Go ahead and get some guys in there. You guys can re-sign. You guys can sign some rival talent. You guys can get yourself a Randall Cobb. I think there's another Green Bay receiver that's going to be let go as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys can get some talent there as well. So we'll see what happens. We look at your top 3 needs for this year. It's definitely a wide receiver. You guys need to get yourself a wide receiver. Your offense is almost complete. Tight end is another need. It's my honorable mention need. Don't worry about that. Just get yourself some wide receivers, okay? Get yourself 2 or 3 good wide receivers, and you guys should be set. Defensive end is another need. You guys are letting go of Ezekiel Ansah. You guys have a decent hole there. I don't know if Deshaun Hand is really able to start yet. Romeo Okwara already proved that he can start for you guys. But you guys need some depth behind that defensive end position for some situational pass rushing. It's definitely going to be needed if you guys want to be a better front seven. Then we look at your cornerbacks. Your cornerbacks are very, very lacking. You have Darius Slay there. And you guys have another guy there. He's coming off the top of my tongue right now. But anyway, you guys need some cornerback depth very badly. I know Tracy Walker has been put in the slot a couple times. Maybe he'll be a slot corner for you guys as well as a safety. But you guys need some corner depth there. My honorable mention needs is tight end and offensive line. Probably offensive line more than tight end. Offensive line you could sure up in, but it's not terrible. It's not as big as a need as those other positions that I just named. So that's your three. That's your 3 needs and your 2 honorable mention needs. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. I love doing these season recaps, and even guys that are non-fans of these teams are still watching these recaps, so thank you guys so much for that. And like I said, if you guys like this video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you guys are new. Remember to ring that notification bell so you never miss a video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.